right, let's get to some headlines from across the state of Texas. And we are going to start with what may in fact be a very classic Texas high school football story. Not necessarily in a good way, but definitely in a Texas way.
It's giving Friday Night Lights drama.
Talk about Brownwood and what's going on in Brownwood. Of course, Brownwood, one of the most iconic Texas high school football programs. A program where Gordon Wood is sacrosanct. The stadium's named after him. Brownwood on the very short list of the most iconic Texas high school football programs, and the gentleman at the helm of the Lions over the past few years has been our friend Sammy Burnett. We know Sammy Burnett. We're a good dude. We always enjoy our conversations with him. And Coach Burnett, this is he's always said that this is a real dream job for him. Coach Burnett has been there since. When did you get there, Coach Burnett? He got there in 2018, so he's been there since 2018. There at Burnett, he's a Brownwood guy, and it is a big deal for him to be the head coach there at Brownwood. And so you will have to imagine the surprise of many people around the state of Texas when a school board meeting happened last week, and the school board voted not to extend Sammy Burnett's contract. They voted, the board, a BISD Board of Trustees voted 4-3 against extending his contract. Now, here's what that means. That doesn't mean that he's out of a job. He has a contract that goes through next season, through the 2025-2026 season. However, normally what happens is, you see this with the Dallas Cowboys a lot, and in the NFL, nobody coaches on their last year of a contract, right? Normally, we're getting up to the last year of the contract, the idea of an extension comes up. So Brownwood ISD comes out and says, or the Board of Trustees says, no, we are not going to extend your contract. Now, there is a lot of wide-ranging kind of implications behind this. Does this cause Sammy Burnett to start looking for jobs? What have you? I will say that you look at some of the quotes coming from some people, and plain and simple, I don't think I'm speaking out of school when I say that I think that Sammy Burnett is a man of more or less impeccable character. This is not a character issue. There were some quotes coming from some of the people who voted against him that said that plain and simple, the football's not good enough. Mm-hmm. It's plain and simple. I'm trying our website is running slow, which is probably not something I should admit on the air, but I'm trying to pull it up. But there was a quote from them from one of the trustees that said, "Hey, listen, plain and simple, the football has not been up to Brownwood standards." This is from a BISD trustee, Amory Dormius. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. Quote, being a Brownwood alum and coming into this program, I had really high expectations. Just from what I'm seeing, I think Sammy's an amazing person. I think he's a great guy. I think he does so much for those boys and is such a good leader in the way he speaks with them. But when it comes to coaching, it's been talked about within the community and with the parents of kids who are in school, we're living it day to day. Another gentleman named Mark Followell, not the Mavericks announcer, announced,
you don't know that.
addressed the board in opposition to extending Burnett and said that they have such a rich and storied history, quote, but recently we have observed a troubling trend, a lack of motivation and drive in our community support for our teams. When there's a lack of accountability, we risk fostering an environment where mediocrity becomes the norm rather than the exception. Are
these unrealistic expectations right now? Or maybe some being stuck in the golden days of this? Because when is the last time that Brownwood really, really made a lot of noise? So
that's the funny thing about it, is that I think Sammy Burnett's been a pretty darn good coach there. He's 51-31 overall, okay? He's had 3 10-win seasons. Back in 2023, 2 years ago, Brownwood was in the regional final.
Yeah. Like this.
So, respectfully to our friends in Brownwood, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, to me, this feels like prior to like this year when Texas kind of got to claim the Texas is back thing. This feels a lot like a Texas A&M, Texas University like prestige thing of yes, we were really good for a while, but it's like what have you done in recency bias to prove that this is a thing that needs to go and it's not up to the Brown. What is the Brownwood standard
in 2023? In 2023, right? What? 18 months ago? They were in a regional final and lost to Decatur by 3. What are we talking about here? If you like, here's the thing. If you don't like the guy or you think that, quote unquote, we can do better, then say it with your chest.
Yeah.
Because right now, what this feels like is people in Brownwood are a little upset they went 6-5. By the way, they didn't go 2-8. They went 6-5. And some people in Brownwood are a little upset that that's not up to their standard when they are 18 months removed from being in the final 8 in the state.
It's wild. It's really wild.
So, respectfully, to the folks at Brownwood, figure it out. This is ridiculous, in my humble opinion. On to the next one. Some coaching news across the state of Texas. Actual coaching news. We broke this late last week. Burleson Centennial is looking for a head coach. It's the first time they've ever been looking for a head coach in Texas high school football in their history, because Kyle Geller has been the head coach since their inception in 2012. Well, Kyle Geller is moving into Burleson ISD administration, which leaves open the Burleson Centennial coaching job. And did a fantastic job, 91-58 during his time in 13 seasons, kind of launching that program. He went to the playoffs 11 of their 13 seasons. Back in 2022, they went all the way to the regional final with a 12-2 mark. This is really interesting. This is a highly coveted job, I think. Burleson Centennial is a big-time program, and Kyle Geller helped to get it there. So I would expect that there's going to be a healthy application process there. Our sources tell us that they are targeting kind of early March to get this thing settled, so this thing may move pretty quickly. But Burleson Centennial is open. Kyle Geller moving into administration role. Let's talk about Frisco Heritage. Frisco Heritage has a new head coach, and it is a name that we know fairly well. John Fish is going to be the next head coach there at Frisco Heritage. He is leaving Woodrow Wilson to become the next head coach there. He will be approved, or rather, he was approved back last week. He's a guy who's out of Oklahoma. He made his name where he was before he was at Woodrow Wilson and bounced around a few different places. I believe he was at
Lone Star.
Bonham. He was at Lone Star. He was one of their. He was their offensive coordinator there for Jeff Rayburn and company before he got a head coaching job at Bonham. Bounced around a little bit. Went to Woodrow Wilson. Did great things at Woodrow Wilson. One of the things about that, because of the rise of South Oak Cliff, Dallas ISD has kind of been like South Oak Cliff and everyone else. There's a real argument to be made that Woodrow Wilson has been the second best program in DISD since he's been there. So he's taken over there at Frisco Heritage, which has been looking for a head coach since Kenneth Gilchrist became the head coach there at the new Prosper School, Prosper Richland, which is going to be very confusing for me. I'm just letting you know. So that is the latest there as John Fish, the new head coach there at Frisco Heritage. Let's go to Bryan. Talk about Brazos Christian, because this is a we don't necessarily hit on every private school coaching change, but this is a pretty big one. Corey Washington, who's a member of the Dave Campbell's Texas Football 40 under 40 back in 2023 and was the TAPS Division IV Coach of the Year last year, is leaving Bryan Brazos Christian to become the defensive coordinator at McMurray. He's going up the college ranks. He's making that leap from what is pretty small private school job. Like TAPS Division IV is small private schools. To go from there to becoming a college defensive coordinator is pretty remarkable. Corey Washington is leaving Bryan Brazos Christian, a 40 under 40 member, to become the new defensive coordinator for the Warhawks there at McMurray. That's certainly very interesting. All right. Another big one, we might touch on this with Greg Powers, our director of recruiting, coming up here on This Week in Recruiting in just a moment. But Ethan Feaster, Booby Feaster, the star wide receiver for DeSoto, a guy who was really burst on the scene as a freshman back in 2023, then had another strong year in 2024 as a receiver for this for the loaded DeSoto team. He has reclassified, and he will be playing his senior season this year. He has moved from the class of 2027 up to the class of 2026. This is what we're going to call the old Quinn Ewers.
Yeah.
If you remember when he did that, he was the number one, or arguably the number one quarterback in his class. He reclassified to the class before that and enrolled early at Ohio State. Obviously, this is a guy in Booby Feaster who's got offers out the wazoo, but he is going to be playing his senior season this year at DeSoto as Booby Feaster has reclassified there at DeSoto. And finally, let's talk about about a defending state champ, and that is the Salina Bobcats. Salina having a great time right now, right? Defending champs. They got the star quarterback, Bo Bentley, coming back. Things are good in Salina. And they say you should strike where the iron is hot. I'm just saying, like, okay, when I put the summer magazine to bed, when we put the summer magazine to bed, right, or when you, Pickle, you have a really big win with Texan Live, right, that's the time to go ask for a raise, right?
Correct.
Salina ISD is putting on up for a bond proposal in May 2025.
This is a shocking number.
A bond, we all are familiar with this. Just please vote, and it will take this money out of your taxes and do the stuff with it, but you have to approve it. A $2.3 billion bond.
That's billion with a B. Not M.
To
B.
fund new campuses, land, and buses, potentially, including they would build 7 new elementary schools, 2 new middle schools, and perhaps most notably, a new high school.
What we're saying is,
Salina,
don't move to Salina.
So that's what we're saying. Salina's wonderful. But Salina is looking to build a new high school, and that would be obviously very big as well. It is a shocking number. Now, Salina is growing like a weed. If you're unfamiliar with it, this is a community where it is exploding right now, and there are the proposal says that population projections would place that Salina would have almost 24,000 total students by the 2033 school year. The U.S. Census Bureau in May said that Salina was the fastest growing city in the country. Okay? It's exploding out there, and they're trying to get ahead of it. The headline is shocking, right? $2.3 billion. But I think what they're saying, I don't know, I don't want to speak for the people who are putting this bond up. This strikes me as the kind of thing of, we're going to just try to pass one big bill instead of try to do a bunch of things.
Which makes sense.
Because what ends up happening, there's 2 models to it, right? There's the Salina model, which is, please give us an enormous pot of money once. Or there's the Frisco model, where Frisco, it seems like every year, every other year,
is going to ask for a new high school.
They're going to the voters and saying, could you bond this high school? Could you bond this new high school?
Yeah, they've done it about 14 times now.
Correct. This happens, Lamar Consolidated ISD, this is happening. All these places, Katy ISD, all these
Alvin.
places, Alvin, all these places with these exploding growth. Salina's just going to go for it, like full send. And I got to say, if you're going to do it, right on the heels of winning a state championship, probably the right time to do it. Community pride is at an all-time high in Salina.
Well, and you can't deny the fact that the area is growing like
absolutely.
crazy. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, there's a lot of e-commerce that goes back into all of that. But yeah, the billion was a shocking amount.
$2.3 billion is what they're asking. But certainly, it would be very interesting to see what happens to Salina. Of course, a perennial power in Texas high school football. Should they split? And it's very, very interesting. Keep an eye on that. But Salina, that bond is coming up in May there in Salina, Texas. That is the latest headlines.
Some wild headlines.
We're Texas Football Today. We're here Mondays and Thursdays on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbells. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbells, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com.